Previously, Yi Feng and Gentle Snow's party entered the dungeon, but since Yi Feng was the party leader, they did not notice that they entered the highest difficulty for a dungeon, Hell Mode. Hell Mode has a setting in that the rewards were increased by 30% and the rare drop rate was increased by 30%. But as this is Hell Mode of a dungeon, the opportunity comes with risks since the death penalty was increased by 100%. This means that if someone among them died here, their EXP loss will be 100%, which will result in dropping in level by 1. These conditions were truly brutal, especially for new players. That was why Blackie and Yueru were freaking out at the fact that they entered the dungeon in Hell Mode difficulty. Of course, Yi Feng did not choose Hell Mode if he was not confident himself. Who would gamble in a losing fight, right? Yi Feng reassured Blackie, if he himself doesn't have the way to conquer the Hell Mode of the Deathly Forest, he wouldn't choose to be here either. Yi Feng then commanded them to follow him closely, as he already said earlier that Deathly Forest has a maze-like terrain that would render someone lost if they choose the wrong path to take. Yi Feng led the way as Blackie and Lonely Snow followed behind. Yu was hesitating and asked Gentle Snow if they are going to follow Yi Feng. They were already inside the dungeon and the path can only go forward, hence Gentle Snow decided to trust Yi Feng this time. Unknown to them, the regressor Yi Feng already has the path to the first boss ready. Before he regressed, he remembered that the Deathly Forest has a total of 36 paths, but only 3 of those will lead you to the first boss. This information was known after Shadow sent hundreds of players entering the forest in batches to try and map out the place, which they succeeded. Yi Feng and his party has been walking for some time now and they haven't fought a single mob. Yueru was doubting him, but Gentle Snow was positive that the path Yi Feng took was the right one. Yi Feng also pointed out that mobs here won't drop anything worthwhile, so fighting them would be useless. Then, Blackie saw an opening ahead of them and pointed out that up ahead was surely the boss area since it was expansive. RPG games usually give players an expansive area to fight a boss to give them more room to move, which would give them more chances to dodge the boss's skills and attacks. God's Domain wasn't any different, but Yi Feng and his party arrived at the supposed boss area. The place was empty. I just want to point out also that novel readers knew that this scene here was totally different from the novel. But as they were inspecting the area, the place began to shake. They all pulled out their weapons as Yi Feng told them that the boss was coming. Moments later, the boss jumped out from within the ground, revealing itself. It was a level 3 chieftain boss named Wilmy, which was supposed to be Willy, but I don't know why they change even the boss's name. Wilmy glared at them with its sharp claws and huge body. Even if it was just a level 3 chieftain compared to the kobold leader who was a level 5 chieftain boss, Wilmy was a dungeon boss of a Hell Mode dungeon. This means that its power level was comparable to, if not more than, the kobold leader. Every one of them readied themselves for the boss fight. Yi Feng instructed Lonely Snow to play as the tank this time, as he was a berserker, like Gentle Snow, who has more points in strength than anyone else in this party. Also, why he did not place the tank role on Gentle Snow, because he was reserved in commanding them like his arms and feet. Compared to Lonely Snow, who decided to follow Yi Feng due to respect, Gentle Snow and others were just partying with him just this once and will not be part of his workshop. He then proceeded to remind everyone of their damage to not shift the boss aggro and make the battle a complete chaos. Just as Yi Feng said to start, Lonely Snow dashed forward without Yuer's buff. While executing his charge, he tripped and fell before he reached Wilmy. Wilmy took this chance and attacked Lonely Snow, but was stopped by Blackie with his evil whip skill. Seeing the boss being controlled by Blackie, Lonely Snow attacked the boss via headbutt, which dealt damage to both of them. Yuer did not waste a moment and healed Lonely Snow back to full health. But as Lonely Snow was resting, the boss broke free from Blackie's skill. As to why there's no damage even though it destroyed all 5 tentacles, it must be that the skill's duration has worn off and Wilmy broke free from it. Lonely Snow returned to battling Wilmy head-on, fulfilling his role as a tank. After a while, when Lonely Snow stabilized the aggro, Yi Feng and Gentle Snow attacked the boss simultaneously. Yueru did not sit idly as well and threw his fire attack at the boss. She was hyped that she dealt so much damage to the boss, forgetting the talk about the aggro. Her damage also put the boss in an enraged state earlier than usual. The system alerted them that while Wilmy was enraged, its attack power and speed, both movement and attack, will rise by 30%. This kind of player who only thinks of their individual damage in a team battle was the lowest. They will make the boss hunt harder than usual as well as put their tank's effort to stabilize its aggro into waste. This is what exactly happened as Wilmy looked at Ueru and, instead of attacking Lonely Snow, attacked Ueru who was at the back line with the healer Uer. She realized her mistake too late. Personally, I wouldn't save such teammates. But Yi Feng was different as he executed Thundering Flash towards Wilmy's back, saving Ueru from absolute demise. The damage overlapped Ueru's and the boss aggro shifted towards Yi Feng. Wilmy and Yi Feng engaged in a heated one-on-one battle. Wilmy brandished his claws sending swipes to Yi Feng who was steadily defending himself. Wilmy then activated its ultimate skill, Killing Feast, and became a drill that assaulted Yi Feng up front, causing his HP to drain rapidly. Seeing that Yi Feng was in a tight lock, Gentle Snow sent a quick kick toward Wilmy's face, interrupting its skill and sending it flying. As the boss finished activating its ultimate skill, it then entered a weakened state where it will take more damage and will its abilities reduced for a moment. Yi Feng lead his team to attack the boss with no regard for aggro as they dish out as much damage as possible while the boss was in its weakened state. They will have to finish Wilmy while he was still weakened. All of them unleashed their skills one after another and not long after, Wilmy exploded, dropping items as it turned into light streams. Yi Feng did not go straight to the drops and told them to recover first. He informed them of the last boss that will catch players off guard as they prioritized loots over recovering. It did not take more time before the last boss appeared. It released its horrifying aura as it tried to intimidate the warriors who challenged him. The boss was a silver-white werewolf named Felt. It roars at Yi Feng but it only received a predatory eye coming from them as they pounced at the horrified boss. They again engaged in a heated battle and after a while, Felt knelt defeated as the system notified them that they have killed the werewolf, Felt. You know what, this manhwa made Wilmy somewhat challenging over Felt. In the novel, Felt was so horrifying that Yi Feng's party was frozen in fear just by looking at its glowing red eyes. I need justice for Felt. They did my boy dirty. Anyhow, after Felt died, it dropped rare skills books and equipment. Gentle Snow then abides by the promise of letting Yi Feng's party be the first one to choose among the loot present. Yi Feng did not waste his time and chose his items as well as Blackie and Lonely Snow. Blackie got 2 equipment and 1 skill book for Cursemancers called Hell Flame. Blackie's luck was just unstoppable. Lonely Snow also got a great sword for Berserkers and a skill book called Whirlwind Slash. Looking at their happy faces, Ueru was complaining that they must have taken all of the good loot. Uer find it reasonable however as they wouldn't have conquered the dungeon without Yi Feng's leadership. Yi Feng wasn't stingy at all and hugged all of the good loot. He also gave a rare drop to Gentle Snow which was a potion recipe, a beginner's strength potion. Ueru was also shocked that Yi Feng was giving away such valuable loot which Yi Feng answered with riz that she also played an important role in the raid. Back at the entrance of the dungeon, while Yi Feng's party was still inside, the horde of players was still gathered, sharing their thoughts of who will be the first one to clear the dungeon. While they were engaged in a heated discussion, a system alert shocked everyone present. It was a system alert for clearing the dungeon. Obviously, it was Yi Feng's party that was written in the panel. As the alert was being aired, Yi Feng and everyone arrived outside the dungeon. Everyone was envious of their new gears and pieces of equipment and also of the fact that they cleared the dungeon ahead of other known guild elites present. Gentle Snow, who has seen Yi Feng's talent and prowess, invited him to join Ouroboros. Ouroboros was a first-rate guild that everyone was dying to join but not Yi Feng. He obviously knew what guild Gentle Snow came from but he was planning on creating his own workshop and guild this time so how can he join another guild? Also, Yi Feng has a lot of plans in mind right now. Being in a guild will hinder his plans moving forward. Not to mention Ouroboros was a giant in the virtual gaming industry. Gentle Snow did not push the matter and in exchange, invited Yi Feng in another dungeon raid after 3 days. It was a dungeon called Dark Moon Graveyard. A level 520-man team dungeon. Yi Feng agreed to join the raid with the same condition as before. Ueru heard his shamelessness and was out of words. Afterward, their party disbanded. Gentle Snow and her party went in their separate ways. Yi Feng and his party who were left behind were eyed by the other players who failed to conquer the dungeon. Blackie and Lonely Snow were greatly shaken by how others look at them. Yi Feng understood their motives and told the two to make a run for it. These players were in desperate need of information concerning the path to take. They were planning to mob on Yi Feng to ask for information, but the three of them escaped and arrived at Dark Moon Valley, a level 4 map. Lonely Snow noticed that the area was void of players and asked Yi Feng about it. Yi Feng confirmed to him that there were few players here, as most of the players were busy with Deathly Forest right now. As they were catching their breaths, a shout was heard from a distance, calling out to them. Yi Feng saw his name and felt he has heard it before. He then remembered the Guardian Knight from his time, Kola, the rank 15th Guardian Knight in the Star Moon Kingdom. He was a very domineering Guardian Knight 10 years into the future with the nickname of Tyrant Bear. Seeing that Kola hasn't entered any guild right now, Yi Feng was thinking of pulling Kola to their side. Kola, on the other hand, said that he was clearing mobs along the way and saw them. They were the first players he saw in this area. Blackie and Lonely Snow were shocked at how high his defenses were if it was true that he was clearing mobs alone while being a Guardian Knight at a level 4 map at that. Lonely Snow approved of Kola's skills and Yi Feng did not hesitate to add him to the party. Of course, the one who was the happiest among them was Lonely Snow, as he will not tank anymore. Kola then pointed out that they were missing a healer and that he has a friend who was an oracle. Lonely Snow was not positive about putting an oracle as a healer, but Yi Feng thought differently. Although oracle has low healing capability, they have high HP to compensate. Plus, they have this skill called life payment, which allows them to convert the damage taken into healing. Healers were usually targeted in every PvP so that the enemy can't regen their HP, so an oracle has more chances of survival than other healers. Kola then invited his friend Drowsy Sloth to join their party. A small player arrived and Yi Feng added him to the party, saying that it was not the class that was important, it was the player who was behind the character. As they already formed a well-rounded party, Yi Feng led them to grind for levels. They arrived in an area full of level 3 gnomes. As Yi Feng notified them to start the battle, Kola dashed in with his skill Shield Strike and combined his skill, Taunt, to taunt the enemy in 10 by 10 yards, gaining more aggro than the monster's target and focusing their hatred towards him. When Kola managed to gather mobs around him, Yi Feng, Blackie, and Lonely Snow activated their respective skills, wiping the gnomes out. Kola and Sloth were marveling at the efficiency of the grind and the drops that the monster dropped. But as they were busily fighting gnomes, Kola noticed that it suddenly dimmed. Then in front of them, Blitzcrank landed. A giant robot landed in front of them. It was a level 5 boss named Hazard Gnome and has a passive skill to ignore 95% of the damage dealt. Its probability of it appearing after clearing out gnomes was very low, so his appearance was both a blessing and a curse. Yi Feng was stupefied at the appearance of the Hazard Gnome, and without a second to miss, he commanded them to make a run for it. Yi Feng knew what will happen if they dare to mess with the boss, as he already experienced it before. They all ran away from the boss and into the dungeon entrance while the boss was chasing behind them. The boss wasn't just chasing and was shooting at them from a distance. Blackie felt frustrated and threw a dark arrow towards it, dealing a measly 1 damage. Yi Feng told him about its passive and suggested that Blackie should throw crowd control towards it instead to slow it down. Blackie obliged and used his evil whip against the boss, but to Yi Feng's surprise, the skill dealt a decent amount of damage to it, considering that it has a 95% damage reduction. Yi Feng halted their retreat and told them of his plan. Blackie will be the one damaging the boss while the rest will keep the boss occupied while the skill was on cooldown. With a simple command, everyone gets into action. Lonely Snow went ahead with his whirlwind slash. Blackie followed up with his evil whip. It dealt so much damage to the boss while it was being bound. When the boss broke free, it was about to attack Lonely Snow but was stopped by Kola with his divine strike, shifting the aggro towards him. The boss attacked Kola while he used his shield to block, but that attack still dealt massive damage to Kola. Kola ran to dodge the attack while being healed by Sloth, but as an oracle, he can only do so much. Seeing that Kola was in a tight spot, Yi Feng activated Abyssal Bind and combined his skill with a chop. Though the aggro shifted, the damage dealt to the boss was abysmal. The boss retaliated with a ranged attack which Yi Feng dodged with gravity liberation and used his thundering flash at the cliffs right above the boss, causing the debris to fall towards it, dealing a considerable amount of damage. The boss was buried underneath the rubble. The boss HP dropped to critical, so they only have to finish it once and for all. But as they were preparing to attack the boss once it broke free from underneath, the gnome inside the robot appeared wearing a jetpack. It then flew up to escape from Yi Feng's party. But Yi Feng wouldn't allow his prize to go away. He activated his 9 dragon slash and summoned 9 abyssal swords around him. He then controlled the swords to attack the gnome, but it dodged every sword and boosted his way out. The system also notified Yi Feng that the gnome Arcus Maddox has successfully escaped. Reading the name of the gnome, Yi Feng was shocked. Arcus Maddox was a famous grandmaster engineer in God's domain. He built the Sky Fortress Twin Snake Ring in 3 years. It will also build a gnome empire, which will signify the start of one of the most famous expansions of God's domain, the emergence of the New World. Arcus Maddox was basically a big boss in the future, and he can't believe that he nearly killed that boss right now. While Yi Feng was preoccupied with his thoughts, Sloth reported to him the chest inside the robot. Inside the chest was a key and a treasure map. Yi Feng was satisfied with this reward and told them to go and grind by themselves as he will fetch a treasure. He knew where this map will lead him and what treasure this key will open to. It was a treasure that was fought over by nations in God's domain, as it can turn a stone into pure gold. Yes, the treasure was the fabled Philosopher's Stone. According to his knowledge, the Philosopher's Stone was hidden in the depths of the Scarlet Lake, in the Sun Temple. As for the key to open the chest, well, he was holding it right now. As for where the Scarlet Lake was, even without the map, he already knew its whereabouts. Later that day, Yi Feng arrived at a level 10 area, Scarlet Lake. Yi Feng dove into the depths of the lake that was home to level 10 monsters. Yi Feng did not dare to fight these monsters and swam away. He arrived at the door of the temple, but level 10 siren guards were guarding it. Yi Feng cleverly used his clone to lure the guards away. Yi Feng approached the unguarded door and used the key of Arcus Maddox to open it. The door opened and Yi Feng entered the portal. On the other side of the door was an altar with an idol lit up with a pentagram at the top and 2 statues of a guardian standing at each side of the stairway towards the altar. The system notified Yi Feng that the place he was in was the Sun Temple with an unknown recommended level. Yi Feng then took the steps toward the top of the altar. Yi Feng arrived at the top of the altar in no time, and when he activated as with the system, a blinding golden light emanated from the idol which swallowed Yi Feng. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next video.